Okay, I want to talk about three things today: starting, satisfied, and silly. Elizabeth Gilbert says perfectionism is a form of procrastination. And I so totally get that people don't start stuff because I hear, oh, I'm a perfectionist. And nothing is ever perfect. You're definitely not going to start being a potter, a painter, a figure skater. If you don't start, you don't try, you're definitely not going to walk onto the ice or pick up a piece of clay and be perfect. So I'm going to put perfectionism over here as a reason for not starting because I just don't believe in it and it's an excuse. If you're not interested in skating, you're not interested in pottery, that's a whole other thing. Like, that's just follow your interest. But I guess what I want to start with starting is start. Is there something that you're thinking about? Is there a project? Is there an experience that you're constantly putting on a shelf, taking it out, looking at it, not the time, and putting it on the shelf? Maybe it's not the time, right? Like maybe you don't have time, you're raising young children, you're in school full time, but could you actually maybe start a piece of it? Maybe if it's a novel, could you do an outline? Could you just take a pottery course? Could you break it down and start small pieces of something? And I'm trying to limit regrets. So starting stuff, I want to do it. I don't want to have regrets. And I do have regrets because some things, it's now too late. Like, it's now too late to, I don't know, move to a big city in my 20s, get my first apartment, and that's too late. I didn't move to a bigger city. So that's a regret that I can't do. But there's so many other things that I can do, and all I have to do is step into it. All I have to do is start. I can start small, I can break it down, but I'm not going to procrastinate. I'm not going to think that anything I start is ever going to be perfect. It will never be perfect. I will be a beginner. I will make a mess, but I will start. And for me, satisfied is related to starting, because I think what happens again, we pick up something and we expect it to be perfect, or we work on it and we invest so much into it, and it's not quite perfect yet. It's not quite perfect yet. Well, maybe it's never going to be perfect. I think we have to learn, for a lot of things, is it good enough? Like, is this good enough? Are we satisfied with this project, with this experience? Because if not, we're going to be so tied to making it perfect that we might miss other experiences, other projects that we're not starting, that we're not exploring, because we're constantly trying to make something perfect that might never happen. So I really think that we have to work at, besides starting, making a mess, learning, growing, tossing it, starting again, we also have to get to the point where we look at what we have and are satisfied with it. I'm satisfied with this. This is good enough. I can share this. I cannot share this, but I'm pleased. I've done it. I've completed it. I'm satisfied with where I'm at right now. And that's a good feeling. Like, that's such a good feeling to be satisfied. And we're done. Like, maybe you'll never share it, but you're satisfied with the work that you've done and you've completed that project. Wow. Congratulations, well deserved. You've accomplished it, right? So we've started it, we've made a mess, we've pivoted, we've gone back, forward, and now we're satisfied with our end result. And we can move on, and we can pat ourselves, and we can celebrate that win. The last word is silly. And I think as adults, we lose being silly, right? We're busy, we're rushing, we're doing this, we're doing that, and we just lose it. Or we don't want people to look at us. Oh, she's silly, right? Which I don't think is the worst thing possible. I think there's tons of other adjectives that I don't want to wear. Silly is fine. Silly is good. Like, we can be silly. Being silly has nothing to do with my self-worth. It's got nothing to do with my values. It's an adjective that I'll wear. There's so many other adjectives that I'm not wearing, and that. So I'll give you a story. I'll give you a personal story of silly for me. So years ago, I went to Department of Motor Vehicles, get my license renewed. You go in, You take the ticket, you sit down in line with, I don't know, 10 to 20 other people there for the same reason, or maybe to renew their car insurance. I don't know, whatever. So you sit there, you wait for your number to be called, right? So my number is called, and I jump up and I go, oh! And the clerk sees me and she smiles, right? And then I go over, I do the paperwork with the clerk. I go, I stand to get my picture taken, that horrific picture, passport picture, driver's license picture. And I do the best I can, and the picture's taken. So I look, and the clerk is sort of frowning, and she sort of looks disappointed. So I think, oh, did I blink? I'm going to have my picture retaken, right? You know what I mean? Things happen, right? So I said, oh, okay. I said, so you're going to have to retake my picture. And she says, no, I don't have to retake your picture. She said, but I thought that you were going to strike a pose. And I was like, strike a pose from my driver's license picture. Because when I had jumped up, I had struck a pose for her, and she found that funny. And I thought, oh my goodness, right? She would have enjoyed that. She would have had a big smile on her face. I would have had to have my picture retaken again, which is whatever. But she would have been happy. All I had to do was be silly. And she would have a great story to tell, right? And she'd be able to say, oh, the silly woman at the DMV, she did she did this pose when she got her picture taken. And it would be a silly story, and she'd likely smile, and maybe people would laugh, maybe people didn't. But it would be a positive story that she could take home, right? Compared to the 9 other negative stories that I'm sure happen in lots of other departments and lots of other issues and organizations that we go through. And all it was being silly. It had nothing to do with my driver's license, really. It had nothing to do with my self-worth, my values, who I see myself as a person. I try to be good. I try to be non-judgmental. I try to be open-minded. I can be silly. Silly has nothing to do with any of those things, right? Silly is nothing, right? And it just was an idea, it just struck me. Oh my goodness, I'm struggling with that word. That all it taked was to strike a pose, and I could have made somebody's day. So don't let being an adult stop you from being silly. I mean, we all sing in the car, maybe dance with the kids, or close your bedroom door and dance by yourself. Start, make a mess, try painting, make a mess and paint a totally abstract picture. Try collage, go for a walk, and if you see hopscotch, just do the hopscotch as you're walking down the sidewalk. If kids have already drawn it in chalk, be silly. It's good. You know what? And it's light. It lightens you. It makes you smile. It makes other people smile. And it's such an easy thing to do. And I think that we're missing out on that as adults. It's just being silly. Strike the pose. And that. So that is sort of the words that I'm sort of exploring right now. Start. It's never too late to start. Break it down. Change it, pivot, but just start. Don't worry if it's perfect. It's not going to be perfect. Just start, enjoy the process, and be satisfied. Be satisfied with where you're at right now. Be satisfied with what you get done today. Be satisfied with your finished piece. Maybe you do want to rework it. Maybe you've learned stuff and you want to redo it with what you've learned, and that's great. But don't aim for perfectionism, because it might never come. It likely won't come. Be satisfied. Is this good enough? Am I satisfied? Can I move on? And then just be silly. Why not? Make somebody smile. Be somebody's positive story to tell at the end of the day. Wouldn't that be great? Wouldn't that be great? I'm somebody's positive story to tell at the end of the day. I've started. I'm satisfied, and I'm silly. That's life for me right now. Thanks for watching, and subscribe. I wouldn't mind trying to do a few more of these word associations in other videos, and that's about it. Okay, thank you.